governance issues in KwaZulu-Natal under the spotlight. That province's education MEC, Sipho Hlomuka, is facing allegations that he interfered in how contracts were given out for the National School Nutrition Program, a program that provides meals to thousands of school children. Political parties like the DA, ActionSA and the MK Party are calling for a full investigation. The DA wants the national government to step in and is asking that the money for the school nutrition program be managed by the provincial Treasury instead of the Education Department. So let's hear more then from the DA. I'm joined by the party's the KwaZulu-Natal chapter's Sakhile Mngadi, who joins me now. Sakhile, good afternoon and thank you for your time. So calling for national government to step in for the funds for the nutrition program to be managed by provincial treasury at the very least suggests grave concern on your part. What of what we've heard from the accusers who are accusing the MEC, the documentation we have seen and the MEC's response leads you to that conclusion that we are at this stage where drastic measures need to be taken?
Absolutely. So we had earlier last week received reports that the MEC was involved allegedly in what looks like tender interference. We know that in 2015 he registered a company called Apikuku. We know that that company subsequently received tenders in the Utukela municipality for many years. And we know that the company in 2019 changed directorship, where an individual called Tembisile Hlomuka, who we suspect, and it is alleged that it is his mother, is now the current director of the said company. And this said company was due to receive a national school nutrition program tender in the province. The award was due to be given to them until that information came to us. So as the Democratic Alliance in the province, this is obviously very concerning for us because it brings into question matters of ethics of how an MEC, who is the political head of a department, can award a company he has direct relations with a tender. It calls into question the bid adjudication committee and how they then ran the entire process. And it calls into question really the ethical nature and what we assume and can quite clearly see now is rampant corruption. You'll know that, Tula Sizwe, this program is critical. In KZN, 2.7 million learners get what is their only meal a day from it. And it has been rocked over the past years with, inefficiencies, shortages of food, suppliers not delivering food. And if they do delivering substandard food that's not fit for consumption. As it is now, this food is portioned. I think across the board, the official menu says that children can only get 20 grams of protein a day from this. And so it really calls into question even the humanity of these people, where it's already been rationed and you're continuously giving out these tenders to companies that aren't able to deliver. And in this instance, a company you are directly related to.
So the MEC Hlomuka has proffered an explanation, right? Confirming that he did register this particular company, but he has since taken no interest and has basically moved away from that company and doesn't know whether or not they were awarded the tender. How do we know that they were either awarded or there was an intention to award them this particular tender?
So we know through two leaked documents that have official signatures of the chairperson and the panel members of the Bid Adjudication Committee that was signed on the 26th of May, that this was the official document of a list of companies that the department was then due to award tenders to. As the Democratic Alliance, we are in possession of that list, and it is the list that we have submitted to the MEC for Finance, who's currently probing and conducting a preliminary investigation into the matter. And we also know that previously, through documents that are in our possession, that the company received a tender in the Utukela municipality in 2017, while Sipho Hlomuka was still its director. And so it calls into question what should be a forensic investigation into exactly how much business has this company benefited from government, but also in relation to the MEC. He is the founder of the company. And so in any case, if it is an ethical argument, or even just basic Treasury regulations around nepotism and how these processes should work, we know as the Democratic Alliance that there's something fishy here, and we are demanding that there be an investigation. And from that report that we will get from Treasury, we'll then, plan our action steps forward. But if it is proven that these allegations are true, we are not going to shy away from calling for his removal.
So multiple calls for accountability and a full probe. Part of what I know has been done has been to ask SCOPA in KwaZulu-Natal to probe, but the Premier Tamintuli has now asked these two MECs, Nomagugu Simelane and MEC Sipho Hlomuka, to write to him and give him explanations of their side of the story. How important is it that we get to the bottom of these issues and get to the bottom of these issues as soon as possible? What's at stake here?
So what's at stake is what I said, 2.7 million children, at least in the side of education, that benefit from this. They are meals that are extremely important, particularly when we look at child stunting and the ramifications of that as children progress and grow, and how it then becomes later on an added burden on the state as well, and our health facilities. And so it's critical that there are no disruptions in the NSNP. And if we see that, and again, I need to also just frame this. Sipho Hlomuka isn't the only person we suspect within the ranks of the ANC to have benefited from this. There are other individuals, there are senior officials in the Department of Education in KZN that we know are linked to companies that were on the very same sheet of awarding, or the intention to award document, which paints a picture that the at least alleged corruption, or the assumed corruption that's happened here, is widespread across all levels of government in KZN. And so it calls into question really how much money has been siphoned out of this program and how much money continues to be siphoned out of this program. As we've said, it has critical issues and has faced critical issues over a very long period of time. So it's very important that what we've called for, which is now in the hands of the MEC of Finance and Treasury in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, that investigation is concluded quite quickly, so that we can get to the facts of the matter and then chart a way forward. We have called, however, irrespective of what the outcomes are, that the custodian of the program, who is the Minister, Siviwe Kwahube, to then, put an instruction through to move that grant funding from the Department of Education to Treasury, because they already have established systems of tender procurement, and we think that would stabilize the program. So we have a multifaceted approach in how we want to deal with this, without interfering and sort of destabilizing the program on the ground.
Just lastly, Sakhile, is there, in your view as the Democratic Alliance, an explanation that Sipho Hlomuka could proffer to the Premier, and the deadline is by end of Monday? Not really a deadline, but the Premier did say that he expects that by the end of Monday there would have been some explanation that has been proffered to him. Is there an explanation that can be offered up that would result in MEC Hlomuka continuing in this position, given what we know, his own admissions and some of the allegations that still need to be investigated?
I don't think so, Tsolasizwe, and I don't think so for two critical reasons. One, there is an admission that you have registered a company, and there is critical information and evidence that we are aware of that company was said to benefit from a tender from a department you are the political head of. That in and of itself is gross infringement of key ideas around ethics and morality, and just the way in which the department should be functioning, and whether or not the political head of a department should have any kind of direct relations with the tender process and companies that benefit. But the second, and I think the more critical one, is we know that historically this company has benefited from government tenders. It benefited from a tender in 2017 and 18 from the Utukela municipality. He was the Secretary General of the ANC at the time. And so it becomes an issue of, he claims now not to know what's going on, but historically was the front running person of that company. And so there's questions really of gross misconduct here that he's admitted to. So I don't see a way for the MEC as it stands to explain his way out of this one, but I'm very interested to see what he says to the Premier and also what the investigation that Treasury is doing uncovers with this matter.
Let's leave it there. Thank you for your time this afternoon. That is Sakhile Mngadi of the DA in KwaZulu-Natal talking there about the situation facing the MEC Sipho Hlomuka.